Now, sit back, make yourself comfortable, and let's look together at a most curious predicament. Have you ever noticed that there is a certain fundamental taboo against knowing who you are? It isn't a social taboo exactly, not like the ones we have about money or sex or the various ways we misbehave in public. It is a cosmic taboo. It is the peculiar fact that the one thing you are most intimately related to, the very center of your being, the I that is looking out through your eyes at this very moment, is the one thing you can never, ever get a hold of. Think of it this way. The edge of a knife cannot cut itself. The fire cannot burn itself. The light cannot illuminate its own source. And, most simply of all, you cannot touch the tips of your own fingers with the tips of those very same fingers. You can try, of course. You can press your index finger against your thumb. But then you are touching your thumb, aren't you? You aren't touching the tip of the index finger with the tip of the index finger. There is always a gap. There is always a division between the seeker and the sought, the knower and the known. And this little physical frustration, this tiny anatomical impossibility, is actually the master key to the entire great game we call the universe. We spend our whole lives, from the moment we are told we have a name and a birthday, trying to bridge that gap. We feel like a lonely ego inside a bag of skin, peering out at a world that seems other, foreign, and outside. We feel like we are a passenger in a vehicle, trying to steer this thing called life towards some destination where we will finally get it. Where we will finally catch up with ourselves. But you see, the reason you can't catch up with yourself is the same reason you can't bite your own teeth. It's because you are it. And because you are it, you don't need to find it. In fact, the very act of looking for it is the most certain way of making sure you never realize you've already got it. Imagine a God who is bored. Now, if you were God, in the sense of being the ground of being, the all that is, you would know everything. You would know the beginning, the middle, and the end of every story simultaneously. You would be perfectly, eternally, and limitlessly aware. But if you were that, you would realize very quickly that a little bit of ignorance is a necessary ingredient for a good time. To have an adventure, you must be able to be surprised. And to be surprised, you must, for a little while, forget who you are. So, the one plays at being the many. The ocean plays at being the waves. And the most marvelous part of the trick is that the wave forgets it is the ocean. It becomes convinced that it is a lonely, little, white-capped thing scurrying across the surface of the water, terrified of the moment it will hit the shore and disappear. It thinks it is an island of I in a vast sea of not me. But the not me and the me are like the two sides of a coin. You can't have the heads without the tails. You can't have the solid without the space. You cannot have the finger that touches without the surface that is touched. They arise together. They are mutually arising, as the ancient Chinese say. But we don't feel it that way, do we? We feel as though we are a sort of fluke in the cosmos. We feel like we are a bit of consciousness that has somehow happened to a dead, mechanical universe. We are like birds that think they are separate from the air they fly in. But where would the bird be without the air? It would fall. And where would the air be without the bird? It would be empty of flight. The air and the bird, the finger and the touch, the eye and the world, they are all one single, seamless process. It's just that the process is doing a very clever dance. It is hiding from itself in order to find itself. It is pretending that the tip of the finger cannot reach the tip of the finger, just so it can enjoy the thrill of the chase. Now, let's look a little closer at this I that we are all so concerned about. We speak of my body, my mind, my thoughts. But who is the owner? If you have a body, who has it? If you have a thought, who is having it? If you try to find that owner, you'll find it's like trying to peel an onion. You peel away the outer skin, your social mask, your name, your job. Then you peel away the next layer, your memories, your habits, your preferences. Then you peel away the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations. And what do you find at the center? Nothing. But not nothing in the sense of a blank, dead void. It is a nothing that is the very possibility of everything. It is like the silence that makes music possible. It is like the empty space in a room that allows us to walk around in it. You see, the ego, this thing we think we are, is actually nothing more than a social convention. It's like the equator. The equator is a very useful line, but you'll never find it. You can't go out into the middle of the ocean and look for a big, thick rope floating in the water. It isn't there. It's an abstraction. In the same way, your ego is an abstraction. It's a mental image you have of yourself, a sort of brand or avatar you use to navigate the world. But the trouble starts when you confuse the image for the reality. You become like a man who tries to eat the menu instead of the dinner. You become obsessed with the map and forget the territory. And because the ego is an abstraction, because it isn't real, it is always under threat. It is always feeling insecure. It feels it has to defend itself, to aggrandize itself, to make sure it lasts as long as possible. It is a ghost that is terrified of the light. And so we live in a state of constant tension. We are always trying to get somewhere. We are always trying to improve ourselves, to get it together, to become better. We treat life as if it were a journey with a destination. But as I've said before, if the point of music were to get to the end of the song, the fastest conductors would be the best. If the point of dancing were to get to a certain spot on the floor, you'd just walk there. But we are so busy trying to get to the end of the song that we forget to dance. We are so busy trying to touch the tip of our finger that we don't realize that the finger is already part of the hand, and the hand is already part of the arm, and the arm is already part of the universe. You don't have to do anything to be the universe. You don't have to achieve enlightenment. Enlightenment is simply the realization that there is nowhere to go and nothing to become, because you are already there. You are the it that is playing the game.